All right, hockey fans, I got a real big treat for you here. So, as you know, I'm the Panther guy, and I did my Eastern Conference playoff prediction. When I thought about doing the West, I said, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about with these teams. I don't watch a lot of Western Conference hockey. It's too late. The games are just too late for me. So I have my good buddy Nick from Twisted Wrister Hockey. Or Twisted Wrister, I should say, is the name of his YouTube channel. But he's a hockey guy, good guy, best voice in the business.
Oh,
I mean, it's just like no matter how much I edit my voice, I can't get that smooth. I just can't do it. I'm all raspy and gruff, and Nick's got the perfect voice for this job. So thanks, Nick. I really appreciate you coming out and giving us your thoughts on the Western Conference, so that the people that watch my channel can have a little bit of a different perspective.
yeah. Thank you so much for having me on the show here. And yeah, it's just great to get back to the playoffs and have the full format, have fans in the arena. So I'm certainly fired up about it.
Yeah. And, as you and I were talking about, this time of year, that's it. There's no rest for us. Not that the players are resting either, but yeah. So I want to get into the Western Conference and then just touch on the Panthers a little bit. Just giving your thoughts as we go along. Obviously, Colorado, Nashville, to me that's one that would have been better, but we don't know about Saros. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have the same thoughts there. Nashville actually outplayed Colorado in the regular season series. And yeah, Saros and Riddick, there's a huge gap there. Their backup goaltending just hasn't been cutting it out there. They have had some kind of renaissance seasons from somebody like Matt Duchene. He had a fantastic year defensively. They've got all sorts of talent back there as well. But again, the goaltender is a linchpin in the playoffs. And if it's not Saros, then I just can't pick against how talented Colorado is, despite some of their setbacks in previous postseasons.
Yeah, that's the thing for me is I remember last year saying every time the Panthers would play Saros, I want nothing to do with this guy, because he definitely has the look of a goaltender that if he got hot during the playoffs could seriously carry a team and do some damage. And then the other thing there is that, Colorado's got to know that for how many years now have they been supposed to be the team, right? They've been picked by a lot of people for a few years now to get there and win. And you only get that run for so long. You only get so many chances before doubt starts to creep in. So I know my buddy Stu has been wanting a rematch with the Avalanche. I want nothing to do with it, to be honest with you. As a Panther fan, I kept hoping all year that somehow Vegas would sneak in and make a run, and then we could take the easy way out in the Cup Finals. But that's a different story. So yeah, I agree with you. Colorado and 5. I'm picking probably 5. Although Nashville seems like they've got a better team at that, but you also have to wonder about their mindset when you lose your goalie like that. That's tough.
It certainly is. I think for them, they still have some of those players who were part of that Stanley Cup final run a few years ago. I know obviously Pekka Rinne playing back then was still, at a Vezina caliber level. I think he actually won the Vezina the next year. Yeah. But for the Predators, I think that, to expect them to win one game, I think is fairly reasonable. I'm actually going to give them 2 wins for this one. I think that they can probably rally a little bit at home there. They played really tough against Carolina last season as well. So I think that they can, bring out their best hockey against the best teams. So that's why they still find themselves in the playoffs perennially. This is the 8th consecutive year they've made it.
Wow.
But again, with that gap in the goaltending, yeah, I know, right? And they haven't always been the best team on paper. So I will tip my cap there a little bit, but I still see the Avalanche prevailing.
Yeah, I hadn't realized it was 8. That's a lot of years to have not won. That's a long time. So, all right. The next one, to me, this is going to be the real barn burner, tough one. This reminds me of trying to call a Panthers Lightning series, and that's Minnesota and St. Louis.
Yeah, I'm fired up for this series just because of watching these two teams go at each other in the regular season. Now, it's interesting because the Blues did win all three matchups, but under certain circumstances. So two of them, I think, were in overtime. So overtime doesn't mean anything in the playoffs. But I know in that last game, the Wild let the Blues back into that game. That's kind of what concerns me. The Blues also won the Winter Classic in regulation, but that was in frigid cold temperatures, right? So like I'll put that aside. So St. Louis, I think, is the team that's being slept on the most, that I think has the most legitimate chance of competing for a Stanley Cup this year. What really does it for me when looking at the St. Louis Blues is that they still have, of course, some of the veterans who were part of that 2019 run, right? O'Reilly, Tarasenko, Perron, Parayko. But it's now these younger guys who've come in since then who are now leading on a game in, game out basis in terms of productivity. Thomas and Kyrou, especially those two guys. And then you also factor in other guys that they've brought into the roster in the last couple of years. So Pavel Buchnevich in the offseason, that trade has just turned out in spades for them. In addition to also Ivan Barbashev, one of the more kind of overlooked players in the NHL as well. So I think that they can match whatever the Wild has. I know that the Wild are certainly an electric team, but I think St. Louis has proven that they're not going away easily. And I think that this is going to be a 7-game series. It's going to be maybe the best first round series as well. And in this one, even though I'm rooting for the Minnesota Wild, and that's the team that our channel picked when we made our playoff predictions together on a live stream, I am picking the Blues to win this one.
Yeah. My, excuse me, my version is shorter. My gut tells me St. Louis, but I think you're going to be looking at most of the games in this series. You're talking about not just 1-goal games, but the goal that decides it's going to be some screwed up shot from the point that goes off of 3 bodies and hits the scoreboard and somehow drops behind the goaltender's head. I just get the feeling like, and in 7 games, and you're talking double, triple overtimes. This is going to, I think most people agree that that's going to be the series that just numbs a lot of people. There's going to be, and let's be honest, to me, that series is just to pick who's going to get beaten by Colorado, because whoever comes out of that series is going to be so wiped, and Colorado is likely to be fresh. Much again, like that's part of the reason why I kind of don't want the Panthers to have to play the Lightning, because even if we win, it would be like a what cost,
Yeah.
All right. So then we've got to me, this will be like probably the most lopsided series of them all, really. And that's Calgary with Dallas.
Yeah, I think that with Dallas, they are kind of a one-line team. I know that obviously 2 years ago, they went to the Stanley Cup final, and it doesn't really matter who's between the pipes because they've gotten great goaltending from Jake Ottinger. You could put somebody else back there. I'm sure that they would find their successes as well. But for me, with Calgary, they have sort of that playoff brand of hockey baked into them. And it starts with Daryl Sutter. You look, of course, the contract year performances of Gaudreau. Matthew Tkachuk also had a fantastic year as well. Elias Lindholm, again, somebody who doesn't get enough kudos thrown his way. The defense, the structure on defense has been fantastic. Again, it's really reflecting what Daryl Sutter did in Los Angeles with team defense. And of course, that reflects the goaltending as well. Although Markstrom, he has had some really bad games. And I know that all goaltenders will, but those 9 shutouts, it's very polarizing when you compare that to some of his other performances on the season as well. Right. I love Jacob Markstrom, though. So I think that he could still maybe not be Vezina caliber, but he can still, on a game in, game out basis, give them what they need to put a few goals on the board and come away with a 4-3 win or something. Right. Like that.
Yeah. I like Calgary in this series. It's as a Panther fan, it's an interesting, because we had Markstrom, and then we actually traded Markstrom when we got Luongo back. That's how long ago this was. And this kid, and this is not a knock on him. This is actually I'm praising him. He took so long to develop into what he is. I know for a few years it was like he looked good and then not good, and you think he's ready and then he's not, and then he has just continued to work and blossomed. And then on the other hand, we're sitting here and we've got Spencer Knight. So it's just like that way he was supposed to be the future, and now we have the future, but now he's Calgary's future. It's just a weird. It's weird as Panther fans. We really rooted for the guy because I remember when he played a few games for us, the crowd really was really into it. And then next thing you know, he was gone, and Markstrom or Luongo came back, and it would just be interesting to see, can he carry a team? Because you know how it is, playoffs, the goal scoring gets a little bit tougher. And although I'm not so sure about this year's first round, I think this year's first round, you're going to see a little bit more of a wide open style than we have in the past. But but absolutely, Calgary, Markstrom, yeah.
And I think that really with Dallas, they had that first line. I want to give them some credit too.
Right.
That's been one of the best in the NHL with Robertson, Hintz, and Pavelski. But with Calgary, I think that they can match that with their first line, and they're just a much deeper team.
Once you get past that first line, the scoring drops off pretty fast for Dallas. So reminds me of Barkov, Huberdeau, and when they were on the top line together, and then our lower six wasn't always as good here in Florida. All right, so the last series, obviously Edmonton and the Kings. That's a tough one because the Kings obviously have the people that they have the experience and everything, and Edmonton is not quite in Colorado territory where we've heard how good they're going to be for a while, but very kind of almost like the Panthers, where it's like, all right, this is a great group of young players, but can they get over the hump?
So yeah, there are big differences between the two clubs. Certainly, with LA, they're going to be without Drew Doughty, but even in his absence, they actually played really well. I don't have their record, but it was they held serve. I know in a weaker division, but they had that playoff spot locked in with a few weeks left. So you have to give them some credit there. Kopitar is still playing for them, of course. And you have Jonathan Quick between the pipes. Nice bounce back here. And then you compare, it's interesting because you're going to get like 35-year-old Jonathan Quick and 40-year-old Mike Smith between the pipes to start the series. Yeah. And both of them were really good down the stretch. The Kings, this is where, you can't quite sleep on them because Todd McClellan used to coach the Edmonton Oilers. Right. And even when he was the Sharks head coach, his assistant was Jay Woodcroft, the interim head coach in Edmonton. So he has sort of the insider knowledge about, how Woodcroft might deploy some of that talent out there. For the Oilers, I think it's kind of a mental game when you think of, kind of comparing them to like Colorado or Toronto in that, or even Florida, right? They haven't won more than just one playoff series in the past 16 years. Wow. So they have some pressure. Whereas LA, they've been playing with house money pretty much this whole season. They weren't expected to be quite this good yet. So this is before guys like Quentin Byfield and Alex Turcotte enter the lineup and have prominent roles in the lineup as well. So for this one, I'm going Kings on this. 7 games. Wow. 7 games though. Yeah.
There will be some up if Edmonton loses this series. If Edmonton and Toronto lose their series, Canada might just completely explode. It might just implode, cease to exist. I think it'll be a closer series. I mean, I got to give it to Edmonton only because of the amount of talent. They got to win at some point, and if this seems like their opportunity, sort of like with the Panthers and Capitals, which we're going to touch on here in a second. It seems like Toronto hasn't won a series in forever, and it's like, oh great, we get the Lightning. Good luck to us. But for the Panthers, it's kind of like, all right, if we're ever going to get past this hump, this is how this is the team. So. Yeah, I wanted to touch on 2 things with that. Well, we'll get into the second thing last. We already talked about it before we went on. So Panthers, Capitals. I haven't seen anybody picking anything but 5 or 6 for the Panthers, and I think you would agree. Just give me your thoughts on that series, and give me what you think the Panthers need to watch out for.
Yeah, I think that one sort of X factor is if the Capitals can somehow piece it together on the power play without Ovechkin, they become a little bit scarier because I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but the Panthers last year, for example, they got into penalty trouble in the playoffs, especially against the Lightning. So if they're, in the box like that, they don't have the best kill. It's been, it's held serve okay.
Yeah.
But if Washington is able to trot out everybody on that top power play unit, they are magnificent still. So yeah, it's going to certainly hinge on Ovechkin. I think that would be kind of one potential difference maker in that series. I think between the pipes, I think that this is a fairly even matchup. I mean, Vanacek he's got the numbers,
right?
And I love how the kid battles. Could he actually stand on his head in a series against Florida? I doubt it. So that's why I do have Florida winning that series in 5 games. If Ovechkin was 100%, then maybe I would actually stretch it to 7 games. But I think that Florida just has too much they'll just break through at the end of it. But this is where, I think the Florida Panthers, if they're not scoring the first goal, they have the possibility to come back and win a game like that against the Capitals. Whereas I think if they're going up against a team like Tampa, that's when I'm more concerned. If they get down by 2 goals in the playoffs against Vasilevsky, Hedman, McDonough, even some of the other depth defensemen like Chernak and Cal Foote, that's where I have my concerns.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I was going to ask you about. I was watching your picks yesterday and saw that second round you had Florida and Tampa. You picked Tampa. That's okay. Then I started watching everybody else's videos, and everybody's picking Tampa, and that's okay. Look, I get it because this final game of the season, we had everything wrapped up and Tampa blew us out of the building. Fine. I get that. Bobrovsky. In a word, Bobrovsky versus Vasilevsky. I don't think straight up goaltending, if both goaltenders show up 100%, I don't think we can win that goaltending battle. And then you get into, well, what about the special teams? We don't win that battle either. So it is tough to see a path for Florida to beat Tampa with just the 2 exceptions possibilities of home ice, and maybe Tampa runs out of gas at some point, especially if they go 7 against Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, I do actually see that series against Toronto going the distance. When I look at Tampa, what just kind of frightened me looking at them last year was how they just could not give up. They didn't surrender any shots against Carolina at all. I mean, Vasilevsky didn't have to do all that much work. He was excellent, but they just got contained every time they entered the zone here. I think Florida obviously is a much more gifted team offensively than Carolina is. Yeah. But, Florida's been playing this game where they'll get down by multiple goals, or if they have the lead, they can give it back in before you can blink, really. It's to me, that's just not the brand of playoff hockey. One thing that I do like about them a little bit is I think that I mentioned this on one of your live streams in the chat. I think that they need to be the aggressor. They need to come out and be the mean team. I know that they could get into some penalty trouble, but when you have somebody out there like Ben Sherratt who can add some physicality, you do have some bigger bodies out there than a team like Carolina does. I think that they got a little bit out-muscled by Tampa. So you have to use that to your advantage if you want to kind of settle into the playoff brand of hockey that I think Tampa's going to play. They don't want to they're not going to be out there to run and gun. They're going to be opportunistic though. So if you do take a dumb penalty, that power play, I was talking about Washington earlier, but Tampa's power play in the playoffs
is ridiculous. It's not fair. It's not right, really. It's just not right. And so last thing that to close up that point, I think for the Panthers, look, if we have to beat Washington, if we can't beat Washington, we got problems. I think if no matter who we play, Tampa or Toronto in that second round, to me, if we get past that, we can win the cup. Because I like us against the Canes. I think we could take the Rangers, and I don't think Colorado's going to make it. I think it's going to be Calgary. So, but I think that second round matchup, those are the 2 teams that concern me the most. Not Toronto, not as much as Tampa because of the rough stuff. I think a Toronto Florida series might be, every game 8-7 or something like that. That would just be crazy. But so last thing, who you got all the way? Who you got in the finals, and what do you got going on?
I like to pick a team that not too many people are going to pick. I've picked the Carolina Hurricanes.
Okay.
Fundamentally, maybe the best team in the NHL. They are the best at goals against, when it comes to goals against. They don't need a Vezina Trophy winner in the pipes. On the stat sheet, they look like that. But it's the penalty killing. It's the versatility defensively with somebody like Jacob Slavin, who can play well in both zones, with Brett Pesce as part of your second pairing. It's good depth. It's not the best when it comes to depth scoring, but they still have players who I think are just having a good overall skill set. They match up really well if they go into the second round against the Rangers. They beat them the last couple times this season. Rod Brindamore, of course, won the Cup in 2006 and is coaching them and has just done a fantastic job. They added Max Domi at the trade deadline. So I wanted to go with someone who isn't quite getting enough buzz around them heading into the postseason. So I've got Carolina. In the Western Conference, I've picked St. Louis. Colorado in the second round, right? That's like Leafs in Game 7. Yeah. So until they, get over that hump, or until Edmonton gets over the hump, that's when I'll start believing. Florida.
It's okay. You can say it.
I am hoping and praying, my friends. I really am, especially as a Sharks fan, man. Like, God, I would certainly, I wouldn't know how to express myself if I saw Joe Thornton lifting the Stanley Cup. It would be a crazy, monumental moment as a hockey fan. So that's really what I am hoping for. But I think Carolina is another team out there who I think is just on the doorstep of putting it all together.
Yeah. My heart says something else, but my head agrees with you. Look, any other year, Carolina runs away with the conference. The way the points ended up. I mean, we won 13 in a row, and it took the 13 in a row to clinch the top seed in the conference. That's Carolina's a good team. They've been there, and that would just be something for us Panther fans to watch Trocheck go after Markstrom in the finals. I don't know if the fan base could take that, right? So, all right, Nick, I really appreciate you doing this. This was good. You guys got to check out his channel. He's full NHL. As you can tell, he's ridiculously knowledgeable. He's got the best voice in the business. And check out his give me a plug for your merchandise. Give me a plug.
You can get beanies like this. I've got hats, I've got apparel, streamlabs.com/twistedwristerhockey/merch. I got the mug right here. If you just let me get that quickly.
Yeah, grab it.
Yeah. So I have these for almost every team, and of course they're bitterest of rivals. So I'll give you an example here. So here's my logo. I'm a Sharks fan, so this has been recolored in Sharks colors, and so I do this for the Panthers, for Tampa, and for Montreal, for all sorts of teams. And it says, "A perfect day begins with a warm cup of Knights fans' tears." So Panthers fans, you can get this for your
Lightning fans. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Nick, just send me the link. I'll put the link to his store is going to be in the description of this video, because he's just about, he's probably might be harder working than I am. Definitely.
That's hard to come by, man.
No, man, you're pushing me to put out more content. Every time I turn on YouTube, I'm like, there you are. I'm like, damn, I got to make another video. No.
I'll start a media empire. I'll buy you out. You can
buy me. Yeah. Well, let's see. Let me see if I add up all my income for the year, $3,000. Give me $3,000.
I don't think my channel's ever made that much in its lifetime. Maybe the playoffs will get us there. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If we can, the playoffs, we'll get there. We'll get there. I'll get to 2 and you'll get to 3,000. We'll do that. No, you should get to more than 3,000. You're like what, 2,700 right now?
Yeah.
Let's just, everybody just go subscribe. All right. Absolutely. All right, Nick, really appreciate it. No rest for us for quite some time now. And maybe we'll do this again, after the second round and get your thoughts, and we'll see how right and how wrong we were.
Well,
Absolutely.
I know that you'll be bringing on guests when the Panthers win the cup, so I'll prepare myself to make an appearance and tell you all about my love for Jumbo Joe Thornton.
Oh man, we're all hoping for that.
Illustrious 25 years. If he wins this, he'll have waited 25 years.
Man, that's tough. And I just wonder if he's going to shave the beard once he wins. Be like, that's it. I can shave the beard now, and nobody will even know who he is anymore.
Yeah, then he actually looks his age.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know it. Yep. All right, Nick. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Josh.